What's going on, guys? It's Greg here, aka NYPrepper. It is Tuesday, October 14th, 2025, and I have an emergency alert to share with you guys. Right now it is 14:23 Eastern Time here in the United States, and we have some major breaking news coming in from here in the US and from Eastern Europe. But before I get into all those headlines, I want to just update you guys on the interstellar object that is passing through our solar system. So, this is 3I Atlas. You guys probably remember this thing. A lot of people believe it's an alien mothership or an alien reconnaissance ship. Well, we have some new interesting information about it. So, first of all, 3I Atlas passed by Mars recently, and NASA and the European Space Agency took some detailed pictures of it, and they're not releasing the data that they found from this pass by, okay, which is very, very suspicious. But also, we're hearing that 3I Atlas is spewing large amounts of water, and astronomers can't explain why. The object showed strong ultraviolet emissions that are unmistakable telltale signs of hydroxyl gas, a byproduct of water, when astronomers imaged it with NASA's Neil Gehrels Swift Space Telescope before it disappeared behind the sun. Scientists believe the object came from another solar system. Scientists are not releasing information from when it passed by Mars last week. So this was like October the 3rd. It passed by Mars, and they're not releasing the info from the pass by. So we have all those rovers on Mars, and they were able to take pictures and videos of it when it passed by, and we have all different kinds of stuff out there that we don't even know about. That they probably found out something and they don't want us to know. But I want to just warn you guys that this rock or object or alien mothership is coming from another solar system, and it has water on it. That means that there could potentially be pathogens on this thing or some kind of alien spawns. And if they crash here on Earth, they could infest the whole world, just like the Alien movies, or, there could be some kind of incurable pathogen on this thing. So we better be careful with this. So we have some major breaking news coming in from here in the U.S. Trump and Zelensky will be meeting at the White House on Friday to discuss Tomahawk missiles for Ukraine. And what's interesting is that Trump actually invited Zelensky to the White House. So it wasn't Zelensky that was asking Trump to meet. Trump invited Zelensky, okay? And they're going to talk about Tomahawks. And over the weekend, they had two phone conversations, one on Saturday and one on Sunday. Both were about the Tomahawks. Okay, so all I got to say is Zelensky better come with a really nice suit to impress Trump, because I think Trump is going to give Ukraine Tomahawk missiles, and he's going to decide, I think, this Friday when he meets with Zelensky in person. So this is historic breaking news, guys. And Zelensky said Ukraine has good options to finance potential Tomahawk deliveries if the U.S. approves them. He added that he's already shared his vision with Trump, but some details aren't for a phone call. Okay, so that's why they're meeting in person, because they want to work out a deal of some kind. What's Ukraine going to give in return for getting the Tomahawk missiles? Are they going to finance it through the EU? Are they going to make some other kind of deal for minerals or business development in Ukraine or something like that? But this is extremely serious, guys. And Trump warned Russia on Air Force One when he was flying to Israel this past Monday and Sunday. He was in Israel and the Middle East. And he said, if this war is not going to get settled, I'm going to send them Tomahawks, okay? So that is a huge warning to Russia. And Zelensky said Ukraine will strike with Tomahawk missiles only at Russian military targets if it receives them. He also said that Russia is afraid that the Americans might give us Tomahawks. So he's saying Russia is afraid of the Tomahawks and that he's only going to strike military targets. And according to Russian State Duma deputy, that's Russia's parliament, he's the deputy of the parliament, so he's a very high-ranking politician, Alexei Zhuralov, said if Ukraine uses American Tomahawk missiles, Moscow may retaliate with strikes on American cities. Wow. And the Kremlin spokesman Dmitry Peskov said over the weekend, the topic of Tomahawks is of extreme concern. Just imagine a long-range missile is launched and is flying, and we know that it could be nuclear. So he's saying that the Tomahawk missiles could potentially be nuclear. They've mostly been used conventionally, and I highly doubt that Ukraine is going to put nuclear warheads on them. We probably will configure those Tomahawks so they cannot put nuclear warheads on them. Okay, we do have some Tomahawks on standby for nuclear duty, and they're actually mostly in our subs, our Ohio-class subs, which can fire 150 of those per sub, okay? And before I continue with the breaking news, I wanted to mention the sponsor for this update, which is Alpha Omega Gold Group. Guys, gold prices are skyrocketing, and now's the time to get on the bandwagon and get some gold and silver. And the company I trust for precious metals is Alpha Omega Gold Group. They're a company built on Christian values, and they have a free precious metals guide. And to get the guide, you got to go to ao.gold/NYP. The link is in the description down below. That's ao.gold/NYP for your free precious metals guide. And Alpha Omega Gold Group is the only company I trust for gold and silver, so check them out. Use the link in the description. So this is huge news, guys. It looks like Ukraine is about to get Tomahawk missiles. This is a game changer, and from what I heard, initial reports are saying that this is coming from the Financial Times, that Ukraine could get 20 to 50 Tomahawk missiles, okay, which is not a whole lot. Doesn't sound like a lot, but 20 to 50, if you know what you want to hit, and you can really hit something important, then that can do a lot of damage, okay? Trump also said on Air Force One, I will give Ukraine credit for doing so well. They're very good fighters. I think President Putin would look great if he got this settled, and I think he's going to settle it. If he doesn't, it's not going to be good for him. Wow, so another threat from Trump to Putin, saying it's not going to be good for him if he doesn't capitulate and give up and sign a deal of some kind. And you know, Trump also saying that if they don't settle, then they will give Ukraine Tomahawks. And the U.S. under President Trump reportedly provided the necessary intelligence to help Ukraine strike Russian oil facilities across the country in a secret bid to push Moscow towards negotiations. As of early October, the attacks reportedly shut down 38% of Russian oil refineries and prompted an oil crisis inside of Russia, with sales restrictions on gasoline and diesel introduced in multiple regions. The Financial Times, citing unnamed U.S. and Ukrainian officials, said the Trump administration secretly helped enable the strikes by providing Ukraine with the necessary data. The data included route planning, altitude, timing, and mission details that helped Ukrainian drones evade Russian air defenses, according to an unnamed U.S. official cited by the Financial Times. Wow, guys. So route planning, altitude, timing, and mission details, that is huge. Three officials told the publication that Ukraine chose the targets, with the U.S. providing full support at every stage of planning. Other unnamed officials suggested Washington also helped set target priorities for Ukraine. The decision was reportedly spurred by a conversation between Trump and Zelensky in July, during which Trump reportedly asked Zelensky if Kyiv could strike Moscow if it had long-range weapons. Trump later rejected reports of the conversation, saying that no, he shouldn't target Moscow when questioned. But according to the Financial Times, Trump had secretly endorsed a strategy for Ukraine to strike Russian oil facilities to make the Russians feel the pain, citing two officials familiar with the call. Wow. Okay, so this is huge news, guys. The Trump administration was actively involved in the recent attacks on Russia's oil, from planning to route selection to setting target priorities. I mean, basically, they were 100% involved. Okay, Ukraine was just physically launching the drones. They were the ones that physically had the drones in their territory, but all of the U.S. military intelligence and war planners were involved in these strikes. Basically, the U.S. was striking Russia with Ukrainian hands. That's basically what was happening. And the Institute for the Study of War said Russia is already preparing for war with NATO and may strike sooner than intelligence agencies expect. The U.S.-based Institute for the Study of War reports that Moscow has entered what it calls Phase 0, the stage of preparation for a potential confrontation with NATO. This includes espionage, sabotage, and unidentified drone flights over military bases and strategic facilities across Europe. The Institute for the Study of War notes that Russia is building up its reserves and developing new tactics for warfare without relying on massive armed forces. So guys, get prepared. It looks like we're about to go to war with Russia. I think it's going to happen very soon. I think Ukraine is going to strike with Tomahawks in the next couple of weeks. And we already have Russian forces piling up on the border of Estonia. Just a couple of days ago, there were Russian troops at a border crossing in Estonia. They were just standing there in the road, very concerning. Also, I want to remind you that Russia mobilized the largest number of reservists this year since about 2011, okay? And this fall's mobilization in Russia will exceed 2016 levels, okay? So they're mobilizing a large number of reservists for some reason. And yesterday, Russia passed a law allowing Putin to use reservists in military operations outside the country's borders. This was reported by Russian media. The official document enables the Kremlin to use mobilization resources, about 5 million people, in so-called anti-terrorist operations or combat actions outside of the Russian Federation. Okay, so that is another big sign that they're getting ready to invade the Baltics, okay? They're going to allow Putin to use millions of reserves in so-called operations, not full-on wars, okay? So what operation is Putin planning that he needs 5 million reservists? I think he's going to attack the Baltics. And Zelensky spoke to Fox News and gave his thoughts about why Putin was sending drones and aircraft into NATO airspace. He said, first of all, he wanted to see Europe's reaction, and I think it was insufficient. He was testing how the air defenses were working, how prepared Europe was for a particular attack. He was monitoring the Nordic countries and Poland's reaction. It was a test. He did the same thing once with Crimea. I believe he is testing and preparing his society for the next stage, which would obviously be war. Okay, so this is absolutely huge news. And Poland will be helping Ukraine with energy needs in the wake of recent Russian attacks on the capital of Ukraine. Apparently, generators, extra electricity supplies, and an LNG terminal, liquid natural gas terminal, are at Ukraine's disposal, according to the Polish foreign minister. And Poland successfully tested Northrop Grumman's medium-range air defense system, the IBCS, or Integrated Battle Command System, marking the first international test. Northrop Grumman stated the test represents a major milestone. So this is to fill the gap in Poland's air defense for medium-range air defense, okay? And Russian troops launched more than 3,100 drones last week, and also 1,360 glide bombs and 92 missiles at Ukraine, guys. That is insane. 3,100 drones. Absolutely insane. And Poland's top security official says Russia is using cryptocurrency to pay saboteurs behind hybrid attacks in Europe, including sabotage plots and hacking attempts on critical infrastructure to evade financial tracking and sanctions. And Germany's intelligence chiefs warn the country is already under Russian attack. BND head Martin Jaeger said, "We can't sit back and think a Russian assault won't come before 2029. We're already under fire. Russia is concealing its true intentions, but is in fact trying to test our borders. At best, there is currently a cold peace in Europe, which at any moment could turn into a heated confrontation anywhere. We must prepare for further escalation." Wow. So this is very, very concerning, and multiple regions in Venezuela have begun testing air raid sirens and instructing the Venezuelan population on what to do when they hear air raid sirens going off. And Venezuela closed its embassy and diplomatic missions in Norway and Australia. And I want to also remind you guys, last week, Venezuela put up anti-tank obstacles along this highway in Caracas, the capital of Venezuela. Okay. So it looks like the Trump administration is about to strike Venezuela. We're going to have to wait and see when and how that all unfolds. Will they just strike the cartels inside of Venezuela? I doubt it. Will they just strike the regime and not put boots on the ground? Will they put boots on the ground? There's, I think, 10,000 Marines on standby in Puerto Rico. So maybe they're going to try to seize the capital. I don't know, and basically pull a Saddam Hussein type situation, a Gulf War situation. I don't know. And almost a dozen mainstream media news outlets have refused to sign the Pentagon's new press policies, both conservative and liberal, including The Atlantic, The Associated Press, Axios, CNN, The Guardian, Newsmax, which is very pro-Trump, The New York Times, NPR, Reuters, Washington Post, and Washington Times, okay? I don't see Fox News in there, though, so it looks like maybe Fox News probably did sign it. I'm surprised about Newsmax, though. All the others don't surprise me. And Pakistan has been fighting against the Taliban the last couple of days. We're hearing that Pakistan seized as many as 19 Taliban border posts. There was also Pakistani footage showing the capture of one of many Afghan Taliban Humvees abandoned by the Taliban as they fled. Okay, so these are actually American Humvees that were left behind in Afghanistan by the Biden administration that the Taliban was using against Pakistan, and they left them behind. And we're hearing reports that the Taliban abandoned hundreds of Humvees that they were using to move towards the Pakistani border. And China says it will fight to the end if the U.S. seeks a trade war, but added that its door remains open for negotiations. And the Palestinian Authority has been told they will have a part in selecting members of a committee that will run Gaza as part of the hostage exchange deal, sources close to Mahmoud Abbas said. Okay, so basically they're going to form the Palestinian government after this deal was just concluded. All the hostages in Gaza were released. Trump met with Netanyahu and a bunch of regional leaders in Egypt. And North Korea has likely received technical help from Russia for its submarine development, according to the South Korean defense minister. And New York City mayoral candidate Mamdani took illegal foreign campaign contributions in the amount of up to $13,000. And Japan unveiled the world's first autonomous hydrogen-powered tractor. It drives itself and runs on a hydrogen fuel cell. Wow, absolutely insane. So it looks like John Deere will be a thing of the past in the next couple of years. Hopefully not. And right now, this afternoon, we have U.S. nuclear forces on very high alert. We have 2 nuclear war command and control planes up in the air over the upper Midwest. We have the highest priority recon plane in the U.S. Air Force airborne over Ohio right now. A combat scent took off from STRATCOM, and this plane sends intelligence directly to the president and the top generals. And then we have a B-52 nuclear bomber airborne. Also, for some odd reason, we have a NATO AWACS plane over northeastern Poland, which is very unusual for this time. Usually these planes go up overnight, and this thing was up in the air during the late afternoon, early evening hours over Poland, which is very strange. So something must be brewing over here. Also, last night, there was a heavy Russian cargo plane that left Kaliningrad, so maybe it's monitoring the troop levels in Kaliningrad. Maybe Russia's deploying missiles or some kind of equipment here on the border of Poland. So, but that's the latest breaking news that I have. I might be back later on tonight, closer to midnight, maybe earlier. I'll keep you guys posted on Twitter and on Telegram and also through my app when I'm going to be going live. So until the next time, take care, God bless, and don't forget the 3 Ps. Prepare, practice, and persevere. And this update was sponsored by EMP Shield. Guys, EMP Shield has created a special discount just for you, the listeners of the NYPrepper channel. If you go to empshield.com and use the promo code NYPrepper, you can get 15% off your entire order. And why do you need an EMP shield? Well, this is a special device to protect your vehicle, your RV, your solar generators, your radios from an electromagnetic pulse, which could be caused by a solar flare or potentially a rogue country like North Korea detonating an electromagnetic pulse weapon over the United States that's mounted onto a satellite. So protect your vehicles, protect your RV, protect your radios, protect your generators with an EMP shield. Use my promo code NYPrepper to get 15% off. Installation is super simple. This is a veteran-owned business, 100% American-made, and the EMP shields have been tested by the military, okay? And free shipping is included to the entire continental United States. And the link and the promo code are in the description below this video.